You're watching the show that puts Spartan news in focus. This is Focal Point.
Coming up on Focal Point, I'll tell you why Michigan lawmakers are concerned about MSU's new health insurance plan.
I'm Lucy Guo. Tonight on Focal Point, I'm going to tell you how FRIB is dealing with the potential funding cut.
It's National Eating Disorder Awareness Week. We'll show you what MSU students are doing to fight back against the disease. Focal Point starts now.
I'm Amber Johnson-Weeks.
And I'm Jill Silverstein. Welcome to Focal Point. First up tonight, a new policy that may affect whether students choose to come to MSU.
That's right, Jill. Under MSU's new health policy, all incoming freshmen will be required to have health insurance. Emmanuel Berry has more on how lawmakers want the university to reconsider.
After I had bronchitis, this is my bill, and I had 10 days to pay it.
10 days to pay $2,000 for a 6-hour hospital visit. This is the situation Michigan State freshman Michelle Graham faced after she went to Sparrow Hospital with bronchitis and was told her insurance was not valid.
I had to notify Michigan State that I had out-of-state health care, and they accepted it. So why can't I use it out here? And they completely told me that they rejected it, and I got a $2,000 hospital bill.
Although Michigan State's new health insurance plan dictates that all students report their coverage,
representatives from Michigan State University testified that students could just give their word.
Another one of Michigan lawmakers' concerns is cost, as students who don't have insurance will automatically be enrolled in Michigan State's plan, which will cost an additional $1,500 a year.
Mandated insurance coverage, it's increasing that financial hurdle.
ASMSU Vice Chair of Governmental Affairs Victor Drain has worked in coordination with the university on the health policy.
Implementing this health insurance program will alleviate that in the back of your mind burden of, okay, I'm sick with something and I'm too afraid to go to the doctor because I don't want to incur this cost.
While Michelle worries that Michigan State's current system puts students at risk.
I only had bronchitis, but if I was in a life or death situation, it took over 48 hours for them to tell me my health care didn't even work.
Michelle hopes that Michigan State makes the process for proving insurance more rigorous, but that scenario is unlikely, as all MSU students must report their insurance by February 29th. For Focal Point, I'm Emmanuel Berry.
25% of public universities require students to have insurance.
The Michigan primary is February 28th, and the economy is this year's hot topic. Focal Point's Anthony Sabella talks to students about how they are looking to this election for change.
These days, Michigan State students have one thing on their minds.
It's still really difficult for a college graduate to find a job.
They want to be able to have a job when they get out of college.
They want to make sure that there's a job market out there that's conducive to new graduates.
And with the Republican primary quickly approaching and the general election to follow, jobs in the economy will be the focus for many students.
I think a lot of students are really interested in which candidate is going to be able to provide jobs when they graduate, because I think a lot of students worry about they're going to pay for their education.
The state of the Michigan economy will be a hot topic for those voting in the primary, especially for students who may have to look for jobs out of state. But for many, things are looking up.
There are still a lot of prospects, and in fact, our economy is now a lot stronger than it was 2 years ago.
You need a good environment for jobs, not just the auto industry. And so I think that's what Michigan is doing.
The Michigan State University College Republicans are not planning on officially endorsing a candidate until the general election. But there is still work to be done in planning for a primary.
Next administration needs to make sure that states have the ability to create a good environment, not just in their state, but nationally.
As student voters head to the polls hoping to save their state's economy and find a job, economists have one thing to say: don't panic.
We've had a tough decade economically, there's no question about it. But I believe that the public impression often is far worse than the reality.
Especially for a state that seems to be on the upswing.
We've got good universities, in fact great universities. We've got a lot of things going for us.
And who the voters choose on February 28th and ultimately later this year could determine Michigan's success in the future. For Focal Point, I'm Anthony Sabella.
A more in-depth version of this story will be featured on the PBS show Washington Week on their website at washingtonweek.org under the Web Features tab. With the Michigan primary looming, Republican presidential candidate Ron Paul has scheduled a visit to Michigan State's campus. MSU Youth for Ron Paul gathered nearly 1,000 signatures to bring the Texas representative to East Lansing. Paul will speak at 4 o'clock on Monday at the MSU Auditorium. Ron Paul is currently in 3rd place behind candidates Mitt Romney and Rick Santorum in the race for the GOP nomination.
President Obama's budget for the next fiscal year has big implications for MSU's project. Focal Point's Lucy Guo shows us how this possible budget cut influences both the project and the community.
Now we're going up. Now we're doing something.
Cassie Cooper has been working for FRIB, the facility for rare isotope beams, for more than 1 year.
I came here because Michigan State is the #1 school in the country for nuclear sciences.
As a PhD student major in chemistry, she is now working as a research assistant for the FRIB program.
FRIB is trying to answer important questions about atoms themselves, is trying to answer important questions about the universe.
As a new national facility for nuclear science, FRIB is funded mostly by the United States Department of Energy.
The cost is a little over $600 million.
Now, one of the most challenging problems is the proposed funding cut to build a new facility.
Part of our job is to bring down our deficit.
President Obama's 2013 budget proposal, FRIB's funding has been cut from $55 million to $22 million, resulting in a $33 million shortfall.
If we're not able to get more than the $22 million, then the project will be slowed down.
We have to figure out the best use of the money that we have.
Mac Hudak became a research scientist in FRIB after he graduated from MSU 5 years ago.
I'm responsible for hooking up the RF power line.
As a faculty member, Matt says the money for FRIB has and will be well spent.
We're not, just burning the money or anything like that. We're buying things with it.
The proposed cuts are not as surprising given the economic states of the U.S. While for Michigan, the FRIB program can benefit in many different aspects besides economic.
Education is the future for our development here in the community.
We're going to need a lot of people to work on it, so that's job opening.
It all filters back to the DOE and letting them know that, hey, we actually can do this.
Besides the FRIB research team, both MSU and its Lansing officials are trying their best to prevent FRIB funding cuts.
What we can do is locally try to put pressure on the people that are making those decisions at the federal level.
For Focal Point, I'm Lucy Guo.
Michigan State University has already committed to contribute $94.5 million at the beginning of the program.
New GPS technology could help reduce waiting time for local bus riders. Focal Point's Katie Dalebout takes a closer look at the future of CADA transport. New GPS technology could help reduce waiting times for local bus riders.
Waiting for the bus is nothing new for students at Michigan State. The Capital Area Transportation Authority is a primary method for getting from one class to another, usually on time. But like with any form of public transportation, waiting is inevitable.
I think it's kind of an inconvenience when I have to wait for the bus and I don't know when it's coming.
However, the time students spend waiting in places like these could be reduced as early as next fall, when up-to-the-minute bus tracking information could be just a text message away. The new system allows CADA to put GPS tracking devices on all of their buses so that each bus's exact location can be tracked at any moment. This information feeds back to a central location in real time using a cellular service.
And the text would return to them the next 3 buses that are coming to that bus stop.
While CADA does post bus times online, the relative ease of accessing up-to-date information from a cell phone is more appealing.
I text all the time. My phone is always on me, so that'd be a lot easier than having it on my computer so I don't have to open it up. It's just right in my pocket.
Whatever the result of CADA's initiative, one thing is certain. Waiting around unsure of your bus's exact arrival time could be a thing of the past. For Focal Point, I'm Katie Dalebout.
CADA hopes this new system will be up and running by fall of this year. Coming up, an inside look at Eating Disorder Awareness Week.
But first, as Black History Month comes to a close, we take a look at an MSU professor's journey.
They've been called leaders, lifesavers, and world changers. They're also called Spartans.
Welcome back. A closer look at students' internships
and the latest construction on campus. Katie Delbout has the stories and more on this week's Campus Report. Katie?
Thanks, Amber. Internships are vital for resumes, but may be damaging on students' wallets. Focal Point's Jill Silverstein finds out what some students are willing to sacrifice for experience.
It's 3 o'clock on a Sunday, but this Michigan State student says relaxing is not on his agenda.
I think this internship looks very highly on my resume.
Social work senior Simon Stratford devotes 16 hours a week to his unpaid internship at Hillel, a Jewish community center on campus.
Along with my job and my other classes, this internship puts a burden on my week every week.
Unpaid internships are a growing trend for college students, as many are eager to exchange free labor for a foot in the door.
I wouldn't have an intern do anything that I wouldn't be expected to do.
Simon's boss, Audrey Bloomberg, says they hold a high standard for their interns.
Can go out into the world and really make a difference.
Unfortunately, not every employer agrees with this mentality. Instead, companies hire interns to do the grunt work.
Hi, welcome to Starbucks. What can I get for you?
According to MSU Career Services, an internship should not be limited to routine, repetitive, or unrelated tasks, such as getting coffee for your boss. But determining what is related and what is illegal.
That's a really tricky one.
Career Network advisor Bill Morgan says a handful of unpaid interns have sued companies this year, stating they did twice the work as paid employees.
The court seemed to rule that you got to take a hard look at this and say, did the student learn from this experience?
However,
the vast majority of internships are paid.
And college credit is usually offered for the ones that are not. With spring graduation less than 75 days away, it might be time to take initiative. For Focal Point, I'm Jill Silverstein.
I really appreciate it.
New construction recently broke ground on campus. The West Circle Steam Loop project will replace and repair 100-year-old tunnels that deliver steam to 90% of MSU's campus. This year has 4 phases, the first which began across from West Circle Complex, and currently the West Circle Drive is reduced to 1 lane. Although the construction began just a few weeks ago, some students are already concerned about how the noise from the area is affecting them.
I know some of the guys on my floor have talked about, like, when's the construction gonna end? When's it gonna end? And I'm like, it's not supposed to end for a while, so gotta kind of get used to it.
Construction for the project will span the summers of 2012 through 2015. Black History Month is coming to a close, and MSU professor tells us about her struggles and how she now works to help others eliminate discrimination. Focal Point's Amber Johnson-Weeks has the story.
So I can remember my parents taking me to the March on Washington. I can remember that bus ride.
Professor LaBelle Gibson Tansel grew up in Southern California at the height of the Civil Rights Movement.
They included me.
Her parents made sure that she was aware of the advancement for racial equality going on around her. After growing up watching her parents fight for equality, Professor Gibson Tansel was still surprised when just 40 years ago, as a student, she got her first taste of racism at MSU, right here in Armstrong Hall.
And she said, oh, I cannot live with, a black person. And I was devastated.
Gibson Tansel's life experience led her to become a professor and bring about culturally sensitive teachers. In her positive guidance and discipline class, education majors take part in an exercise in which they find their skin tones using paint colors.
We start small with children and teaching them about similarities and celebrating differences.
She wants you to learn as much as you can from the class and from her own personal experiences.
It's exciting because I found myself working in a college and a department which really values my expertise.
But also challenging being one of a minority of black professors at MSU. She says she often wonders if she will be accepted when she meets her students for the first time.
Students bring with them their institutionalized, racism or prejudice.
At a school as diverse as Michigan State is today, it is easy to forget that prior to 1954, separate but equal schools were legal in the United States. But Professor Gibson Tansel says,
change is slow, and without tending to it, without paying attention to it, without working hard at it, that things won't change.
Like many people, Gibson Tansel hopes that the future will be painted more brightly than the past. For Focal Point, this is AJ Weeks.
From 1970 to 1977, Clifton R. Wharton was elected MSU's 14th president, making him the first African-American president of any major university in the United States. Basketball Hall of Famer and former MSU Spartan, Earvin Magic Johnson is in the process of launching a TV network. The basic cable network, called Aspire, will portray positive images of African Americans. Johnson says he wants the station to be used as a vehicle for African Americans to write, act, and direct. The channel will launch at the end of June. That's all for campus. I'm Katie Delva. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Katie. The Obama administration is set to propose a new plan that will further regulate food in schools across the country. In an effort to reduce childhood obesity rates, the plan will limit the amount of sugary and salty snacks found in vending machines. Although controversial, those in favor believe it should be the school's job to enforce healthy eating habits in kids. An update on a recent student death.
And one student struggled with the eating disorder. Yang Jiwan has these stories in this week's health segment.
Thanks, guys. Ingham County Medical Examiner Joyce Daon has confirmed that MSU sophomore Carly Glynn did in fact die from bacterial meningitis. The meningitis vaccine is effective against 4 of the 5 strains of the bacteria, and Glynn became infected with the 5th. After experiencing flu-like symptoms, Glynn was taken to Lansing Sparrow Hospital on February 9th and died in the next morning. Nearly 11 million people suffer from some sort of eating disorders in this country, and as National Eating Disorders Week comes to a close, Focal Point's Victoria Marzek shows us how one woman copes with bulimia and how MSU is helping.
Normally, this takes me like an hour and a half. I'm going to make it a lot quicker.
For most people, grocery shopping is a simple task. For Jennifer Palalis, however, shopping for food is a literal nightmare.
Very, very bad memories come from cereal.
Jennifer suffers from bulimia nervosa, an eating disorder where a person cycles between binging on large amounts of food and then purging the food back up in fear of gaining weight.
At my worst, I was happy if I could make it an hour without binging and purging.
According to the National Eating Disorders Association, 10 million women and 1 million men suffer from bulimia or anorexia nervosa.
Eating disorders are a coping mechanism or response to something else.
Rhonda Bachram coordinates campus events during National Eating Disorders Awareness Week. This year's theme was Everybody Knows Somebody.
What you want to do is have people think about the relationship with food in their body.
The first event of the week was titled Roll Out of Bed, where students were encouraged to come as they were at 7:30 in the morning to one of 3 on-campus locations to receive one of these Be You Tiffle t-shirts.
You don't need to worry about calories, fat, or carbs. So ask yourself why, enjoy food, and celebrate yourself.
Other events included a campus-wide Twix bar giveaway with an inspirational message attached to each bar, and the premiere of Daryl Roberts' documentary, America the Beautiful 2, The Thin Commandments.
Thou shalt be thin to be attractive.
Although Jennifer will forever battle with her eating disorder, she is thankful that Michigan State is helping to raise awareness for others and is on her way to recovery. For Focal Point, I'm Victoria Marzek.
If you or someone you know is suffering from an eating disorder, they can contact Rhonda Bachram for help. That's all for health. I'm Yanjie. Amber.
Thanks, Yanxia. A men's basketball player receives conference honors.
And a controversial art piece makes an appearance on campus. Coming up after the break.
The day we created a cancer drug that saved millions of lives began like any other day. And when we developed a new way to purify the world's water supplies, it might have been a Tuesday or possibly a Thursday. And whether it's alternative energy or better food safety, the next time we help create a solution to one of the world's great problems, we'll be proud. Then we'll get back to work. Michigan State University. Spartans will.
They've been called leaders, lifesavers, and world changers. They're also called Spartans.
Welcome back. I'm Victoria Marzek, and here's what's happening in sports.
Spartan senior Draymond Green was named Big Ten Player of the Week 2 weeks in a row. This is the 4th time this season and 5th time of his career. Green leads the Big Ten with 13 double-doubles on the season and is the only player nationally to rank in the top 15 in scoring, rebounds, and assists. The Spartan hockey team swept Alaska with a 3-0 victory last Saturday on senior night. Senior goalie Drew Palmisano returned to the net after 5 games off. He tallied a shutout with 27 saves. Junior Torrey Krug was named CCHA Player of the Week, tallied 2 assists. This marks the 5th shutout of the season for the Spartans. The Spartans' last regular season series will be in South Bend against Notre Dame. The 6th-ranked Spartan men's basketball team traveled to Minnesota this week, coming off a 14-point win over Purdue on Sunday. A 66-61 comeback victory against the Gophers kept the Spartans 1 game ahead of Ohio State and Michigan in the Big Ten standings. MSU controls its own destiny in its race for the conference title, but must get through Indiana and Ohio State, both currently ranked in the top 25. The women's basketball team won an overtime nail-biter this week against number 17 ranked Purdue. The Spartans, who sported their pink jerseys in honor of breast cancer awareness, have moved into a tie for 3rd place in the Big Ten along Iowa, Nebraska, and Purdue. Leading the Spartans was freshman center Becca Mills, who tallied 17 points off the bench. Senior LaKendra Johnson posted her 9th double-double of the season with 15 points and 13 rebounds. Johnson added a season-high 4 blocks and 2 steals. Michigan State Athletic Director Mark Hollis has been named to the NCAA Division I Selection Committee. The Big Ten Conference nominated Hollis for the 5-term job. The committee is responsible for selecting and seeding the teams for the National NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament. The appointment likely stems from Hollis's inventive ideas such as the Basket Bowl and Cold War. Hollis will start his term on September 1st. That's all for sports this week. I'm Victoria Marzak.
Thanks, Victoria. We have sad news for MSU Spartan fans.
Zeke the Wonder Dog, also known as Zeke II, has died. From 2001 to 2007, this 16-year-old Black Lab Pointer mix entertained thousands at football games. The tradition started in 1977 with the original Zeke and continues today with Zeke III. Zeke's owners request that any donations be sent to givingto.msu.edu. MSU celebrates Darwin's birthday.
And the controversial quilt is making headlines. Emmanuel Berry shows us these stories and more this week in entertainment. Emmanuel?
Thanks, Amber. To celebrate Charles Darwin's 203rd birthday, the MSU Museum organized a day to honor his contributions to natural science. Darwin Discovery Day featured exhibits and hands-on activities to teach people about Darwin's life as a geologist, and an MSU professor even dressed up as Darwin to add some entertainment to the day. Also, during the exhibit, MSU students volunteered to share their research and knowledge of natural history and law of science. A new museum exhibit examines the role birds play in Darwin's theories on evolution. The exhibit will run through June. Michigan State University's Residential College of Arts and Humanities welcomed the Lynch Quilt Project to the Lookout Gallery last week. The project is the first exhibition in an annual RCH series called Perspectives on African American Experience, Emerging Visions. The project was founded by artist LaShonda Crow Storm. The exhibit features traditional American quilts and installations which address America's racial history. One quilt is imposed with the image of a woman being lynched, while another pattern represents statistics about lynching.
We live in a culture that has massive racial problems, and why do these problems still persist? And they persist because we've never addressed them. They don't go away just because you don't want to talk about it.
The exhibit will remain in the Lookout Gallery until March 2nd. For Native Americans, powwows hold historical, spiritual, and social significance. The Native American Indigenous Student Organization on campus provided MSU with a little taste of tradition last weekend at Jennison Fieldhouse. Focal Point's Kayla Roney was there.
David Cleveland travels throughout the country all summer long, competing in Native American powwows. Last weekend, traveling to the first of the season, MSU's Powwow of Love.
Accumulate points through attending the grand entry and exhibition dances, and also the contest dances.
Cleveland competes in fancy dancing, which is a contemporary style.
My name, I guess Cleveland. A lot of the Clevelands are known for fancy dancing.
Fancy dancing has the least restrictions of any category, and there are various legends describing its origin.
Some people, I think in Oklahoma, they said it resembled like the horse, you know, like a young horse, you know, galloping around.
Traditional dance is a little bit more restricted, as its purpose is more religious in nature.
When we dance in like around the sun. Then when we hear the drum, it's the heartbeat of God.
Whichever style of dance they choose to compete in, all competitors wear homemade traditional dress, made either by themselves or family members, such as this headdress.
The consensus at this year's powwow seemed to be the importance of keeping these social contests open to the public.
It gives the community a chance to see who we are, what we do today. And a big part of that is maintaining the traditional culture that we do have.
As for Cleveland, he doesn't plan on stopping anytime soon.
It's a fun experience and I love it.
He's headed home to the Wisconsin Dells now, but over the next few months, it'll be a different city every week for competition. For Focal Point, this is Kayla Roney.
Powwows are open to the public and held throughout mid-Michigan nearly every weekend during the summer months. That's all for entertainment. I'm Emmanuel Berry.
Thanks, Emmanuel. That's our show for tonight.
We leave you now with more from the Powwow of Love. Good night.